Good morning, everybody. Thank you for tuning in this morning. I am here for another reading progress update and library haul because I went to the library yesterday when I got back from New Hampshire. Thank you to everybody who attended the talk my mom and I gave at the Amherst Town Library on Tuesday night about disability rights. We hope that you learned a lot. So to begin, I heard about this book, Summer Fridays by Suzanne Rindell, on YouTube. I cannot remember whose channel I saw it on. It might have been Carrie's, it might have been somebody else's. But the person who reviewed it said it reminded them of Emily Henry, and I think this author's writing certainly is very similar to Emily Henry. I'm really enjoying it so far. I am on page 67. The next book is a poetry book called Blood Orange by Yafa. This is part of my TBR for, it's just for general because it doesn't really fit the theme. This is a poetry book by a Palestinian author that I heard about through With Cindy. She reviewed it last year in one of her cook and book episodes, but I cannot remember which video it was in. I am currently on page 26. The next book is called The Otherwhere Post, with Carrie Can Read recently reviewed this in her April wrap-up, and I am really enjoying it so far. I am on page 59. This book was recommended to me last year by Jack Edwards. I cannot remember which video he reviewed it in. I am currently on page 80. The next book that I am reading is called Pride and Prejudice in Pittsburgh by Rachel Lippenscott. This was recommended to me by A Book Olive. She read this Pride and Prejudice retelling because it is set in her hometown in Pittsburgh. It is LGBTQ plus because this is a lesbian couple who meet and become friends and then eventually fall in love. Currently, I am on page 41. The next book is called Wide Sargasso Sea. Somebody reviewed this book recently. I think it was Carrie Can Read or maybe Jack Edwards. I cannot remember. But this is a retelling of Jane Eyre that focuses on a character who is the governess, I believe. And I am on page 63. These next three books are on the From Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR, by the way. The next book is my reread of Emma by Jane Austen. I started this when I was in Amherst for the past couple of days, and I am on page 80. Chapter 10. Now we move on to new releases. The first new release that I'm currently reading is the new Alice Feeney book from January, Beautiful Ugly. This book has gotten mixed reviews from all of the various booktubers that I follow. I am currently on page 52. The next book is Cara Bastone's new book, Pardon Me Sunshine, which came out in March. Or April. No, this came out last month, I believe, on April 4th. And this is by the same author as Ready or Not, which was recommended to me by Rachel Catherine. I gave Ready or Not 4.5 stars. This book is about a girl who is dealing with the grief of losing her best friend, and she meets, Lenny is the girl's name, and she, Lenny Lenny loses his best friend, and he, and she helps out this single mom named Reese with babysitting her daughter Ainsley. And Ainsley's Uncle Miles always seems to be around, and he's the grumpy one. So I am on chapter 6 so far. I am really liking it so far. I love Kara Bastone's writing. I think I'm at the point where Miles and Lenny have met. The next new release that I'm reading is Story of My Life by Lucy Score. I am almost done with this. There are 50 chapters plus an epilogue, and I am on chapter 41. This is part of a new series that Lucy Score started called Story Falls, and I'm really enjoying this book. It focuses on Hazel and Campbell, and I have really loved the buildup of their relationship. I think it's fair to say that I am going to give this book 5 stars. The next 2 books are on my comfort TV shows, TBR. I found a list. I found 4 different lists on Instagram that were consistent of books that are based on comfort TV shows. Friends is in there, but since I have a separate list already for Friends and Gilmore Girls, I decided to pick books from other shows that I like. This book is by the same author of One Italian Summer. It's called In 5 Years, and it was on the reading list for How I Met Your Mother. And I think that's really appropriate because How I Met Your Mother is basically Ted explaining to his kids how he met his wife. And there's a lot of flashback scenes in that show that explain how Ted and his wife Tracy met, and I feel like the flashback scenes in this book are pretty similar to the flashback scenes in How I Met Your Mother. So currently in this book, I am on page 40. The next book was on the reading list for New Girl, and I think this is a perfect description of Nick and Jess and how their relationship builds up throughout the show. I am currently on page 151. The last 2 books are on my TBR for Asian Pacific Islander History Month. The first book is an essay collection by Ling Ma, the same person who wrote Severance, which I read in April and gave 4.5 stars to. And currently in this book, I am on page 77. And finally, the final book I wanted to give an update on in this video is Connie, a Memoir. This is the memoir of the journalist Connie Chung. I have really liked it, and I am probably going to finish this today. I'm going to probably be giving this 5 stars. So, some posting scheduling up. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me just make sure I haven't missed anything. Oh, so I wanted to talk about books that I returned to the library yesterday really fast. The first book I returned was Lies We Sing to the Sea by Sarah Underwood, which I heard about through Millie Reads a Lot's TBR video for May. It is a modern retelling of the Odysseus Greek myth, and I am obsessed with Greek myth. I mostly read books by Jennifer Saint and Madeline Miller. So this author, Sarah Underwood, was new to me, and I really loved her writing and how she was able to modernize Odysseus, and I gave it 5 stars. The next book I wanted to talk about is Reckless, which is the first book in the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver. I read books 2 and book 3 last year for my Taylor Swift TBR, so I started the series out of order, and I only have 1 book left to read. Oh, wait. I'm sorry, I meant to say Flawless, not Reckless. Yeah, Reckless is by Lauren Roberts, and it's the second book in the Powerless trilogy. So for Reckless in the first book, Powerless, I gave these books 3.5 stars. I think this series is just going to get better as it goes along. And also for Chestnut Springs, I am on... I have read the first 3 books in the series. All of the books have been 4 stars. The last book I wanted to talk about today to wrap things up is called The Wager by David Grann. This is by the same guy who wrote Killers of the Flower Moon. A-Book Olive recommended it on her fiction and nonfiction pairings video, and she paired up with Lord of the Flies, which I read last year for my TBR for books I read in school. Does my opinion change? This is a book about a historical shipwreck that happened in the 1700s, and I think it's perfectly paired up with Lord of the Flies because it's about how all of these people survive on an island and basically fight for survival, kind of like the TV show Survivor, although in Survivor there is luckily no cannibalism like there is in Lord of the Flies. I gave The Wager 4 stars. So, upcoming videos. The next video will be posted soon will be episode 2 of our From Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR. Kathleen and Matt and I are filming the second half of that episode on Sunday morning before art class starts, and then Kathleen will combine part 1 and part 2 together, and that video will be out on June 2nd. The next bi-monthly entertainment wrap-up video on Matt's channel will be out on June 30th at 7 p.m. That is also when I will be scheduling my From Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR mid-year freak out tag superlatives video. And then for summer episodes of the podcast, episode 3 will be a 2-part episode in 2 different formats. On August 10th, Kathleen and I will be on the radio doing a special birthday episode for Matthew Perry's birthday and my birthday. We will be on WMPG from 5 to 6:30 p.m. on Sunday, August 10th, and we will be reviewing Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing, Our Town, Fools Rush In, and 17 again. And we have lots of good music planned. There will be a big variety of music. Some music from the year of Matthew Perry's birth, some music for the year of my birth, and then to wrap things up, we will have music from Matthew Perry's movies, and as a special treat, music from the recent 17 Again musical on Broadway. If we can find those songs and play them, we should be able to find them. So, part 2 of this episode of the podcast will be on YouTube, and we will be reviewing Emma, Clueless, Emma of 83rd Street, Love Decoded, and Ice Princess, and Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants 2. And that movie will be out on August 30th, probably at like 4 or 5 p.m. So, thank you. I hope you pampered your mothers this Mother's Day. I hope you have a good start to the summer and the next. Stay tuned for all of those videos I just talked about. I hope you guys have a good spring turning into summer and a good weekend. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.